Yes. An error occurred with your guest destination.
That's my Twitter because I took off. I took off my Twitter because I'm not paying $50 a month for no fucking Twitter premium. Excuse my French.
Oh, so I can't go live.
Yeah, they raised the price to $50 a month. I took it off. I disconnected it because I don't even use Twitter no more.
All right. Hey, Torian.
Oh, good. Somebody.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Let me turn this music off. We're just having some brief technical difficulties, but you just let us know. Because we thought we were going to be live streaming to Twitter, but Twitter has decided to raise some prices.
Yeah, $50 ain't happening. No. Because I don't even use Twitter.
All right, so we're starting. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture to see how those incidents may or may not affect our daily lives. Listen, we are here, and we are about to review Magazine Dreams, and we are going to spoil it all up and down. Now, if you are someone that does not like for their movies and things to be spoiled, listen, I'm fixing to give y'all the timer. This is enough time for you all to log off. Hold on. All right. So I have two guests that are here today. We have Danny Atherton. Danny does law on Twitter, right? And she is here today to join us. And we also have Torian Rain that is here. So let me bring them up for you. Let's see if we could get like this. I wonder why we can't be. I'm scared of this one because this one looked like, it'll freeze on me at any minute. So we're about to review Magazine Dreams. This is the movie by Jonathan Majors. It is in theaters now. So what I'd ask for each one of my guests today, we're going to be going over what their pros, their cons, what their thought was. Let's talk about the plot. Let's talk about any and everything in regards to this movie. Hey, Lily, was you going to come up? Or be in the chat, because I couldn't tell if she's going to be up in the thing or come in the chat. But we're going to talk about all things Magazine Dreams. We're going to talk all things Jonathan Majors, because we've had a lot of different stuff that has been going on this week. And let me do my own show real quick. It's just all things Jonathan Majors. I was going to do my stunt shows and shenanigans things, but we're just going to review this movie. How are you doing today, Torian?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Doing fine. How are you today, Danny?
I'm good. I'm jonesing for a nap, but other than that, I'm good. Yeah, man.
I think we all are.
It is cold here for some reason. It's like 58 degrees, and I'm freezing. So
yeah, I think it's 40 something where I'm at.
Yeah, well, it was this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, because I think it warms up a little bit. So we're right at 70. So we're right at 70 now.
Yeah, I think we might be, but it's still cold. Yeah, we're at 71, but it's just cold. My house is freezing.
All right, we got Lily coming to the stage. One moment.
Hey, Ada.
Hello.
That's Lily.
Hey, Lily. Nice to finally see you. LaTanya. I was about to give her government name, but I said, let me chill in case she wanted to stay.
No,
bro.
There's a million of us, so.
Say that again?
There's a million of us, LaTanya, so.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So for each of you all, this is who I know is Lily. Lily is follows me on Twitter, and she gives me all the information and stuff that I need to see. So shout out to her. She's one of my information plugs. So shout out to her. So we're going to talk about all things Jonathan Majors. So as we know that there was a movie that came out this week, Jonathan Majors, Magazine Dreams. And this particular movie is out now. So if you all have seen it, for each one of you, I want to know what your movie going experience. Now, I talked about this yesterday. I'll go first. I'll talk about mine yesterday. I talked about mine just on the spoiler free. But in my area, and I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, in my area, when I went to the movie, I did not see a poster for Magazine Dreams. There was no poster for Magazine Dreams. When I went initially to go to the 2:30 Thursday movie. Baby, they had quietly canceled that and moved it to 8:30. So I was in the theater for like 10 or 15 minutes waiting for the movie to show. And the lady, and I had to go up to the popcorn man to ask him, look, the movie's not running. The stuff's not running. What's going on? And my cackles went up because I was like, Lord, what is going on? But apparently, I don't think that they got the reel or whatever it is that they get. I don't think that they had it at that point. That's why they had to delay it till 8:30. However, they should have allowed somebody online to know, so I wouldn't have had to pay. But they refunded me my money, and I was going to go back at 8:30, but it was my nephew's birthday that day, so I spent the time with him and went the next day to a whole different theater. It was in the theater. However, like I told Danny yesterday, there were no posters up. But I was glad to hear. Now, I hadn't gone back out there. I was planning on this morning going back out there, but I didn't get up to a certain time. I think I hit the last little bit of Torian's live, but I was planning to go out there to make sure that it was and catch a picture of it and bring it up here, but I didn't do that. But I wanted to know what you all's movie experience was, good, bad, or indifferent. But the movie theater was nice. My movie theater had I counted about 30 to 40 people in the theater when I went. So let me know what your movie experience was.
So like I told you, we had a poster outside the building on the actual building where the other posters usually reside. No marquee and no posters inside, which didn't matter because as long as you can see it on the outside, you knew it was there. I went at 4:15 on a Thursday. So even though it's spring break this week here, I'm sure kids aren't going to see that movie. Maybe a couple of teachers, but other than that, there were probably about 10 people in the theater that I was in. But again, it was Thursday at 4:15. So anybody that works probably wasn't off yet, and I'm sure they weren't going straight to the movies after they got off of work. So I can't speak for the later shows, but I prefer the quiet and the intimate environment anyway. But yeah, it was good. It was good.
Okay, how about
Yeah, I went.
Oh, go ahead, Torian.
Yeah, I also went on a Thursday around the same time. It was about 4:00. There wasn't a poster on the outside. It was probably about a grand total of maybe about 5 people in the theater that I was in. But like Danny was saying, I like that intimate setting, where you can hear everything. There's no extra
and you
outside
can talk.
noise. Talk back to the screen, and there's a lot of moments when you're talking back to the screen with this movie. But overall, it was still a good experience. I really enjoyed the movie, as I expressed in my review of the movie. Probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. But the movie going experience was definitely a more intimate one. I can't speak for what occurred yesterday or even today. Hopefully more and more people went and saw it. And with it being an indie film, it does need that extra push because it doesn't have the big studio backing behind it, the big machine behind it to push it. So it's really up to us as the viewing audience to really push it through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about you, Lily?
I'm in DC. I was used to the Regal Theater. It was at AMC. I was late. It was outside. I took pictures. So yes, Magazine Dreams. Jonathan Majors was the first person I saw when I finally found the theater, because I had to go to Georgetown, and it's actually in the Regal Theater Friday. So I went Thursday, 4 p.m., got there at 4:40. So yes, the first poster I saw was Jonathan, where they have, all the movies either there or coming. Magazine Dreams there. Unfortunately, it wasn't a poster inside, outside the theater where it was playing, but it was outside, brightly lit, everything there. And
Good.
people, again, 4 p.m. and Georgetown especially, everybody's a rever. I was surprised 2 older women were there, and a guy, younger guy. He was interesting. And so that was that. The theater, I'm not used to AMC. Our AMC closed like in Union Station like 15 years ago. So I'm still used to Regal. So, because I don't really go to movies. Last one I saw was Respect with Jeff Hudson. So, yeah. But yeah, just a regular size poster next to, actually look at the picture, the new Captain America and that other, I didn't know there was a new Paddington movie out. Okay. That's nice. He's in Peru for some reason. That's nice.
Well, yeah, that they seem to love I don't know who's loving Paddington like that, but I think this is Paddington's 3rd movie, isn't it?
Paddington.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really good movie.
Yeah, that must be what the kids were seeing, because when
I just
went
didn't know
to
there was a
both-
3rd one, because I really liked the first one.
Oh, okay. Because when I went to the movies, there was a lot of kids, and like it's spring break where I'm at, so there was a lot of kids at the movie, but I didn't know what movie they were going to see.
Well, you know what movie did come out this week is Snow White, so they probably went to go see that. The live action Snow White also came out this weekend.
Maybe that's what it was, because I just saw a lot of kids, and the only thing I thought it was spring break, and I was like, well,
that's most likely the movie that they took the kids to go see.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah, they took a picture. They had a big Snow White cutout in my theater, and the little girls, it was like 7 and under. They were taking pictures with the cutout of the Snow White. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to get those impressions. I want to go in, because this is not structured. I'm not a very structured person, but I would love, I'm going to start with you, Torian. What was your opinion of the movie? Tell me some of the things that you liked, some of the things that you did not like, and we'll start from there. And then a lot of us will just kind of jump in from there. So we'll get you to start first.
Pam, you can't see my face, and it's a good reason you can't, because when you asked me, tell me what I thought of the movie, I had to take a deep inhale and exhale, because that movie was, like I said in my review, one big endless roller coaster ride. And it didn't slow down until like the last 5 minutes of the movie, where it's like you were able to breathe. This movie was absolutely phenomenal on multiple levels. Like, I don't think that you can really pinpoint a part that says that was, in my opinion, so bad, because it's like it was so many crucial moments. It's like I said in my review, there was 3 major parts that stuck out to me in this movie. And you said this is spoiler talk, right?
This is spoiler talk.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. One of them was when the scene after he got beat in front of his car by those guys after he kicked in the glass at that shop. And then instead of him going to the hospital, he goes to the competition. I said, oh my God, when I was looking at that part right there, and he still got up on the stage to pose, even with him being so badly injured, after he got hit and kicked and, punched and everything like that, and his car got destroyed, halfway destroyed, he still found a way to drive to that competition and still get on that stage and try to pose, because that was his dream. He was obsessed with it. Because nobody would have ever thought to go and do something like that. The other part that stuck out to me, and I think a lot of people laughed at this part, was in the restaurant. When he went off when he found out the guy was there with his family, he went off in the restaurant and he was scaring the kids. He was in there scaring all them white folks. He had them shook. he had them scared. Like, and then he's like, if y'all want the big black boogeyman, this is exactly how I'm going to present it to you. And that's exactly what he did. I wonder how much of that was improv. I wonder if
I was about to say that. I was talking to my friend Debbie was it last night? I don't even know. But yeah, last night, because she just saw it last night. So when she finished, she texted me her perspective on the movie. And we talked about that part. And I said it was funny, like, because that's I live in Florida. So I'll just leave that there. And that would totally give me life if I saw that in real life. I felt like he should have went the extra mile, though, because I can't really say who was wrong in that situation. Obviously, his reaction was a little over the top from the initial disrespect that prompted that behavior from him.
Right.
But I'm never a fan of people ganging up on people and jumping people. So I think at that point was when it was fair game.
Yeah, he was at
jumped, I feel like it was fair game for whatever he did after that point.
Yeah, he was at his breaking point. Like at that point, like he was fine in the restaurant and like eating and everything until he saw that guy, and then it's like all these emotions came rushing back.
Right, and I feel like he should have open hand slapped his ass, but you know.
It was so funny though when he was talking about the soda. He said, "Don't drink the soda because it's going to make you get fat." And he takes the soda, and then what's so funny is he went to every table and said, "Fat, ugly,
bald."
And then, bald. No, what was funny was when he turned the corner and it came right back around and said made the insult to the other person that he missed right there in the cut. Like
and then took their coffee.
And then took their coffee and then sat back at the table and started throwing onion rings across the room.
He just I think the whole thing after he left the guys' table, I feel like that was off the top.
Yeah, I really
like he just was freestyling it.
Even with I wondered too if when he jumped on top of the counter.
Table,
like I went the table. I'm like, if that was all off top of the dome for him, and that wasn't in the script, and the director let that sit in there, that's genius. That's
I think it was.
Really
I read the script, and it was definitely not in the script, but it looked to me like he was going with the moment and kind of like doing what he would have done if it was really him in real life.
Yeah. And also the other part that got me too was towards the end when he had confronted the judge that badly judged him at his apartment with the gun. And he said, "I want you." And when he told him to take his clothes off, I said, "I know what he's about to do. He's about to make him pose so he can judge him." Yeah. Like that was a very intense scene right there.
Yeah, like, it was. That dude was shook too.
Yeah.
I would have been shook too, because you walk in, and then what that scene that got me so much was the fact that he was judging Killian on his body, and he was built like.
I literally said that to my husband. I said, I don't watch bodybuilding. My husband, he dabbles in it, and he knows more than I do because he's older than me. So he followed all the other, the older bodybuilders. But I said to him, do they really look like that? Like, how can you judge somebody's body when you looking like a pack of chitlins? Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you get to judge somebody with what? I don't know, because again, I never paid attention to the judges, but I thought that just like football or basketball, it would be retired bodybuilders doing the judging, but apparently not. Well, I don't know.
I think like at the bigger shows they'll have people who used to do bodybuilding that will sit there and judge. Because the gym that I go to, it's a lot of people who cycle in and out of there who have been in physique competitions and have gone to like those big shows where they're on stage with people that look like that. And I've seen some of the judges, and some of them look like they used to like lift the gym off the foundation in their heyday. Right. So yeah.
Yeah.
That scene. We're going back to the diner scene. Baby, when the babies was crying, and then he wasn't as big as bad, and that's that one thing that I can't stand. I can't stand when y'all jump somebody when you're a group, but then when you don't have that same energy than when you're by yourself. And one of the things I was talking about with that scene, that's the thing that bothers me, is that people will then look at his this is his reaction to being beat up, but they don't see it other than his initial action. That's how they'll put that's that initial action, and that's how everybody, that's how everybody in the diner, I guess, figured out, like, he's going crazy. What is he doing?
Mhm.
And then he's out there when he put his head through them windows, those car
That was
windows.
a very uncomfortable scene for me.
I was like, oh my gosh, and I was expecting, maybe it's just me because car windows are very difficult for you to put your face through. I'm
hoping that was like fraud, like what do they call it, sugar or whatever they call it, that they
whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it shook me to the core. And I remember somebody that was in the theater with me was talking about, Lord, talking about his neck, Lord, his neck.
Right.
He stuck his head through there, and coming back out, everything was going to be, I thought everything was going to get cut up or something like that. I was so nervous for that. But that scene was very poignant for me. The other scene, and if we're just talking about Killian and his destructiveness, when that would, and I'm saying baby because I'm older than y'all and I talk like this, so please don't get me, don't act like a attorney. Yes, but child, when that baby was on the phone with the people at the hardware store telling him to put that extra coat of paint on that thing, and he was trying to be as calm as he could, but you could he was trying very hard to be calm as he could. And then when he went out there and he smashed through the window and the lady was standing there with her dog, and I can't remember what he said, but that woman looked at him like this. I was like, see, I would have already been halfway down the block if I'd have seen something like that. I would have been halfway down the block. But I just, he tried very, very hard Killian tried very hard to try to speak as eloquently as he could to try to connect with people. And that was so difficult for him. The only person that I see that he had any connection to, but he lied to her all the time because he wanted to keep that connection, was his therapist.
Was the therapist. Yeah. And that's it's funny you say that, because I didn't, just right now, just as you said it, that light bulb went off. Because that's a good point. Like, and I say this because I do therapy. I mean, I recommend everybody do therapy. There's nothing, doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It might do. I mean, everybody got something, right? But I say, and I always say, therapy is only as good as the person that's receiving it. If you don't tell the truth, or you're telling parts of the truth, or you're cherry picking what it is you want them to know, it's not effective. It's not going to be effective. And you cannot say, okay, well, I'm not going to talk about this because I know that what the answer is going to be, and I don't want to hear that answer. So I'm just going to take part of this part of my life and feed it to them. And then I'll deal with the rest on my own. So with you saying that he was lying to her, I think it was because that was, and like a lot of people that they say that they're self-aware, they say that they're open to criticism and they're open to fixing their flaws. A lot of people lie to their therapist, whether it be by omission or just blatant lying. And I think that because he had that because most of us have other connections, right? So we don't rely on our therapist to be that one and only, fail safe. Being that was the only connection that he actually had, he lied about, what happened with the girl. He lied, so that I guess she wouldn't judge him the way that, or he didn't want to hear the truth. Oh, maybe Killian, maybe you did rub her the wrong way, or maybe, you should have approached it this way, or not have done that, or shouldn't have said that. You know what I mean?
Let's talk
made me sad.
Let's talk about when we're talking about Killian and talking about the connections. He had a somewhat connection with his pawpaw because he was taking care of his pawpaw, and I think that his pawpaw took care of him while he was younger growing up. But pawpaw gave me that they isolated. And I thought about this last night about, because I was watching somebody's thing and they were like, well, the father should have, the grandfather should have gotten him into all these different things. And why didn't he do that? and it hit me on my spoiler-free show. I was like, okay, his grandfather was a Vietnam vet. That's what he told the man at the thing. And then I started looking at my own father, and I was like, no, that father would have done exactly like I think he did. Simply because, you know, he's dealing with trauma from whatever happened over there in Vietnam, and then he's dealing with the trauma of either his son or either his daughter, either which one, because, you know, it was a pruning from the timeline as to why Killian's parents were deceased. And one of them, you know, one pruned the other one, and the other one pruned themselves. And I was just thinking, I don't think that they would have, he probably thought sending him to this counselor, because she seemed the way that she was trying so hard to work with Killian. She seems like she has been working with Killian for a very, very long time.
Yeah, definitely.
And she looked like she wanted to cry in that. Was it the last time they met?
Several times. Yeah. Because I think she saw something. I think she saw that spark. And I think whatever that spark was, I think she was crying because she could see it slowly dying.
Yeah,
there's this because because and she knew he was lying to her. I think she knew he was lying to her because she
that's when she was looking like that, when he lied about the date, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, when because I'm gonna get to the date, but I wanted to go about that relationship, because I know a lot of times we all talk about, oh, well, you know, we talk about, well, our parents should have done this and our parents should have done that and he should have done this. We also have to give grace to the fact that if the parents are going through trauma, they're only going to be able to parent you through the trauma that they're going through. And I just imagine he was probably an isolationist. The grandfather was probably an isolationist himself. I don't know if he was. Well, he had to have been. I'm assuming that he had been married and his wife died before him, and so he raised Killian to be an isolationist because of the fact that whatever that trauma that they had from those parents pruning, you know, one pruning the other one from the timeline and then pruning themselves. And so that's why I think that Killian didn't make any connections, because I don't think his grandfather facilitated a lot of those things. He made it like, it's going to be me and you. We're good. You be respectful. You sound. So Killian can mimic what it means to be socially acceptable. You can tell that he cannot tell any kind of cues about what's going on, which leads me to the date. I thought it was fantastic that he's had enough gumption to ask this woman out, but she gave me that she was a little slow is not the word. What is the word I want to use? She couldn't read a lot of cues herself, because
and they were obvious cues. It's not like they were things they snuck up on her, like how he was talking to her in the store, how he approached her. Like, he left and then came back and was like, I'm sorry to disturb you and so on. So I know you're on your job, but I would like to know if you would like to go out with me on a date. And you can tell she was like, okay. You can tell it's almost like the response that she gave is not the one she really wanted to give, but in order to not let him down or hurt his feelings, she said, okay, I'll just go along with it.
Right. But she called him back. So she obviously did. She, you know, she took her some time. She called him back because she got his number from the store manager. But when they were sitting down talking, did you see how odd it was that she was laughing so inappropriately? And it was like, and he was like, you know, my parent, you know, he said, my father.
No, because dead. Well, in her defense, at first he did crack a joke, and then it did a 180 when he was like, no, not because she said, I told my dad that I was coming on this date, and then he goes, I told my dad too, and so then she started laughing, and he goes, I'm just kidding, and then she's still laughing, which was appropriate, and then he goes, my dad's dead, and so is my mom.
She's still laughing.
Because I think it didn't connect. And it's kind of like if I'm laughing, or like I often over talk because I got ADD too. And you don't hear it until after and then it's like, wait, did she just say, you know what I mean? So I think it was kind of like that. She caught herself after she realized what he really said. Because like, you don't expect somebody to be like, oh yeah, my dad's dead. Okay, boom. So is my mom. Okay, damn. He killed my mom. Whoa, wait a minute. Like, oh, wait a minute. That took a dark turn. And then, so like I was saying yesterday.
She did. Yeah.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was really interesting how Haley Bennett, I know of her, how she played it, because I'd also read the script. And she was like super silly. She bumps her head onto the table. I'm like, oh, she made this character really, really silly. And sort of like, oh, maybe they're like two sides of a different coin of awkward, we'll use the word.
Right.
And then, yeah, she played it. We didn't see that in the script. Like she was a little sort of, carefree, but the knocking, bumping her head on a table. I'm like, oh, that's different, and that was a thing she decided to do. And it was interesting when she touched his face, and he's like, I'm blushing, but you can't see it. It's like, that was funny. But when she touches this, because I didn't realize he had had injuries, because I came into the movie late. So I do know he was in a car accident, so that's why he had the scratches on his. Or was that when he bashed
I'm trying to remember. Did he?
the store?
It was after you remember he had that accident after he tore down the hardware store, and then he ran into a car.
Okay, because
Okay, and then went on a
yeah,
date.
because I didn't actually see any of that.
Yeah.
I got into the theater when he woke up in the hospital. So,
Okay.
but I read the
Yeah.
script, so I'm like, I reread the script yesterday. But yeah,
Yeah.
but they made her sillier, and the touching of the face was really. It's like, and if like in another time maybe, but Killian, and when he gets so into it about the bodybuilding, you have to be the best. And it's like, oh, you don't get out much if you don't know this person. It's like,
Yeah, but see,
yeah.
the tiny
It's
see,
like-
that's where, like I was telling Pam yesterday, that's where I kind of got sidetracked, because I was like, everybody has something they're passionate about, right?
Mhm.
Whether, because clearly this character is on the spectrum. Whether you're on the spectrum, whether you're not, everybody has a topic that they get passionate about. I feel like her getting creeped out happened too fast. Like, I don't think that I would have gotten creeped out just because he was manically talking about bodybuilding. I probably wouldn't necessarily have been interested in that, because that's just not my thing. I mean, I'm into the gym. I'm a gym mouse. I'm not a gym rat. But I still wouldn't want to have a whole conversation about the gym or supplements or creatine or protein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, all right, I'll
And-
say what I got to say and move on.
And
But
even
I
his
wouldn't be so creeped out that I'd be ready to leave.
and even his
Go ahead.
and even like going to the gym part, even like with his routine, like that part when they showed him sitting at the table eating, I was like, did he just go through the whole carton of eggs? I'm like, how can you? I'm like, how can you go through all those eggs in one sitting? And then he had, this guy had every type of food. I guess he was deemed as healthy, covering the table. Like you could barely see the top of the table.
All the eggs, yeah.
That part got me. And then when he went to the gym, I said when he was in the gym and he was making the gym noises, I said that just reminds me of when I be in the gym sometimes and I be hearing people do those gym noises. And I'm telling you, that is one of the most annoying things.
But I think it helps. I might need to start, because I'm like, yeah, when are my deltoids going to start, deltoiding?
Especially if you're not pushing or pulling that much weight. So it's like, why are you doing all the extra stuff in there too? See the stuff that he did right there with the noise in the gym is exactly why people have headphones and earbuds to block all of that noise out, because they already know what they're getting ready to hear. You know, when it comes to that, even the part when he does his first, like what we see as his first competition, which I think Pam has the picture somewhere in the back. Notice all the extracurriculars he was doing just with the posing, where all the other guys was more fluid and more natural. He was up and making noises, and like as a person who's gone to a few physique competitions, it's easy to see why he placed the way that he did. He said he got 6 out of 7. It's easy to see why he got there, because he was being very extra with the posing when he didn't have to be. But see, the thing is, he's idolizing some of these people so much that he's starting to bring that. It's almost like he doesn't have an identity. Like it's almost like he's trying to be something else on that stage that's not him. That's why when you see at the end of the movie when he's posing, it's more natural because now he's more in his element. He's not trying to be somebody else.
Right. Right.
Yo, oh yeah. Oh, the guy next to him was mad because he kept popping the guy next to him with the poser. He used his elbow and just kind of
he went.
He was like,
Let me read this super chat real quick. Thank you so much, Andre, for the $5 super chat. The response to the movie has been positive. Do you think the hit pieces are behind Jonathan? Baby, let me just tell you, no. Because if they got one or two in the chamber, they probably got 3 or 4 in the chamber. So you might as well get used to the fact that there'll probably be something else to come up and some other little piece of information to come up, because that's the stunts, that's the show, that's the shenanigans of it all. If you follow this case all along, it always happens like that. There is a piece of information that comes out that seems positive, then we get the piece of information that comes out that's negative, and then we get all the shenanigans after that. So I would tell you no. Because again, I think
they have something on their side too. So yeah, sorry,
I didn't hear it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, my husband mowing the lawn. I'm gonna have to mute because he's pissing me off right now. Keep rolling past this damn window. How many times you gonna mow the same spot? I digress.
What did you say, Lily? What were you saying?
As someone who has interesting things going on, pattern recognition. I'm seeing that there's a pattern with what happened on Monday is that it's very quiet on Alvin Bragg, on her lawyer. And on Tuesday is the 2-year anniversary of everything. Something's quiet, and I'm on a chat. He brings up Jonathan. He was on the Breakfast Club. He brings up how he talked about Yale and that no one actually made a technical complaint about him, and also how he's talking about I can't speak about that legally while in the ABC interview. It's just very quiet, and I think there's something on the other side coming. Something's very, very, very quiet with what happened on Monday, and normally, and you can tell that the press is technically on his side because that would have been 100% 10 headlines in 1 hour, but instead
there were. That whole day.
Yeah, there was a lot. But then Tuesday, it was
squashed it with another announcement. So that's part of the pattern recognition
because they tried. It's like, but because Variety did 10 articles in an hour about him that had nothing to do with that, and it's like something's it's too quiet. Alvin Bragg is too quiet. The New York DA is too quiet. If you have this audio, it's like it was so much louder. Something's quiet. And March 25th, the next 2 weeks, we'll see. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but something's just odd. And my pattern recognition.
Go ahead.
It's odd. Yeah, it's just odd. It's too quiet. And everything has a pattern. Everything that's happened has happened before and will happen again. It's like, unfortunately, nothing's really new. It's just repackaged. And it's like, people who are really into history, it's like they they knew everything that was happening, with the presidency. They already knew. And it's like, but I don't follow history, thankfully.
That just comes from, I think a lot of patterns comes from, because I'm really good at pattern recognition too. So I guess I have some things going on as well. But the thing, history, like you just brought up, and pattern recognition comes from being predictable. You understand what I'm saying? So from a historical perspective, behaviors actions and reactions are typically predictable, right? Like this happens and that happens. This happens and that happens. Oh Lord,
I'm always popular when I'm doing.
Oh, okay. So a lot of it is just paying attention, and that's what I think social media has done to a lot of us, not us older people, but maybe 35 and under. People don't pay attention. And they have selective memory, and they like to filter out what doesn't suit their desired narrative that they want to believe. You understand what I'm saying? So whereas a Pam, a me, anybody else that's, old like us, we'll see it and be like, okay, but this, did you not remember, or do you not remember? You know what I mean? And then by virtue of our professions, we have to remember things, because you have to be able to point out, okay, you social work, right? You have to be able to point out certain things that are wrong. Like, okay, well, 2 years ago, this is what happened. That's why this is manifesting itself the way it is now. And in my profession, teaching and being a service provider for, autistic adults, you have to recognize patterns and understand certain, things, so that when something goes wrong, you can go back and be like, well, we saw this. We told you this. So that happened. You know what I mean? So having selective memory and or short-term memory issues or long-term memory issues is why so much stuff happens and people don't connect the dots, or they do and they just don't want to believe that that's what's happening, and they just want to, create their own version of what they think should be going on when that's really not what's going on. And that's why so often these media outlets are able to get away with what they get away with.
And also too, when you look at who is clicking on, or how many people are clicking on something like that, they'll put some news article things out because of they understand and know what people's biases are, things like that, and see what you gravitate to. And also they don't, a lot of people are just headline grabbers. They read the headline, because I have been on several of these things like Shade Room and all these different places, and you'll read the comments, and people have these think pieces about what's going on, and all they've done is read the headline, and then you look under their comments like, did you read the article? Do you know what's going on?
Right.
No, they do not.
But in their defense, the headline is usually inaccurate, especially with like outlets like TMZ. They'll say something happened that didn't even happen just to get you to click the video. And I'm like, well, when did they say that? Or when did that happen? You know what I mean? And again, people are making.
And you would have read the whole article before you got to the end of it. You'd have read the whole article before you had realized these people. What I'm looking for in the headline is not even coming up. So all of that to say, Andre, is that it's stunt shows and shenanigans. It's always that. Is if some information comes out. Some bad information is going to come out. The shenanigans are going to, what is it? What's the statement? If they shenan before, they're going to shenan again. It's just going to follow him. It's going to be. He's going to have to. I hope he's cognizant of the fact that if he's going to have to show patterns that he has had this redemption arc or this redemptive thing. He can't go back to what we have known him. I think his what is that? The Breakfast Club interview. I think that was a decent interview for him. For that, he had some points in there that I thought he was a little too hee about. But I think that was more of him being able to explain some things that he needed to be able to explain without being able to explain it, because he can't talk about. I guess because there is there's an NDA in their settlement agreement or whatever. But
the Sherri Shepherd interview was a good one too.
The what?
I hadn't watched that one yet.
The Sherri Shepherd one was a good one. Like Sherri even got emotional when she was telling a story about her son and how she was relating it to Jonathan Majors. Like, I think that was a clip in the interview that went viral, and she just started crying right there on the stage. But that was a good interview. So if y'all haven't checked out the Sherri Shepherd interview that he did, make sure y'all watch it. It's about 16 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, long.
Yeah.
So let me introduce. I don't know where we lost Lily at. She dropped down, but y'all
Her
did
phone
we?
kept ringing. I think she might have had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Tina from She Dredged Me's up here.
Go on,
We are
Tina.
reviewing the Jonathan Majors magazine Dream movie. The way I have it, and I'll let you be able to jump in and get so you get caught up is the fact that tell me what your experience was when you went to the theater. Tell me what your pros and your cons about the movie.
Got it. All right. Sorry to be late. Our internet just was down. They was working on it or something, but whatever. I caught a matinee. I wanted to go kind of early. So I could, because I knew the movie was gonna be heavy. I'm so surprised. I'm seeing some people like on like TikTok, and they were like, I didn't know what this movie was about. So I knew it was gonna be heavy. So I went in kind of early. So it wasn't a lot of people there when I went. I thought it was a great movie. I really did. I think if people go in with the mindset of understanding what the movie is about, it's a lot easier to swallow. I didn't like the ending. I wish they could have stuck that ending a little bit more. But I mean, we heard it years ago. Jonathan Majors' performance was awesome. You can tell, like, he put his all in this film. But even the supporting cast, because I caught a little bit of you guys' stream yesterday, where I think Pam said you wish you could spend a little bit more time with the supporting cast. I think even though we only got them for a couple minutes and here and there, all the supporting cast did good to me. Like, it was even a part where the therapist was speaking to him, and you could just see her lips quiver because she knew he was lying. And you could just tell, like,
watering.
you could just tell she was like, I wish there was more I could do, but just the way the system is set up, she knew she was failing him. It was nothing much she could do, but I thought the movie was great.
That's a good point you made, that she felt like because I think I was about to say that. I think that's why, I don't know, maybe her eyes are just naturally moist. But to me, it looked like she was crying or about to cry when he lied about the girl. And to me, if she was indeed crying, because I don't know, it didn't say that in the script that I remember. It probably because she felt like she was failing him, and maybe to tell him the truth or make him tell her the truth might have elicited a negative response, and then she really wouldn't have been able to get him to talk. So it's like you're straddling that line between trying to get him help and trying to keep him wanting to help, so you can't really say what you want to say, or else he's going to leave or spaz out or whatever.
And also the part where after he left the therapist off, like when he basically told her, like, this is going to be the last time you see me, and then he went out and sat in his car and he started making the gun finger towards people. Like, that part right there was the one where I was like, oh snap, he about to really I said the movie really about to take a whole dark turn right here when I saw that. And then when I saw him actually ordering the parts for the firearm to potentially do what he was planning on doing, I was like, wow. And that was basically now he's like now completely like starting to shut down. And then that's when he goes into the kitchen and he snatches out all of the healthy food. I mean, he dumps all of that on the floor. I'm sitting there saying to myself, who's going to clean all of this up? Like, that's my first initial thought, is who's going to clean all of this mess up? And he just dumps it all into the trash bag. And then that's when he starts to go and eat a whole bunch of junk food. I called that cheat day. I literally sat in the theater in my mind and called that cheat day, because that's literally how a bodybuilder, after they're done doing, because for those who don't know, people who do bodybuilding and they're getting in prep mode for competitions like that, this is months and months of training and diet that they're losing hours of sleep doing, like training like 3 times a day, every single day, leading up to being on stage for just a few minutes. And then when they get off that stage, some of them go on a binge because they're refueling their body back with all of the carbs that they were lacking for maybe 6 months at a time. So when I saw that, I was like, I literally called that cheat day. But I'll be honest with you, there's no way I'm gonna be sitting up there eating cake with cups of chocolate milk. That's just, for me, that's just not a good combination. When I saw him drinking, like when I saw that,
Well,
doing that.
Do you think Killian had a eating disorder
Yeah,
Is that
well, I
something
think it was
that
depression. I think when
he's
he
a
would get
binge
sad,
eater?
he just binge eats.
Yeah.
Man, this movie had so many layers. Like
Mhm.
we could
Mhm.
talk about 12 different topics, and that's why I'm so impressed with how the director was able to squeeze so much social commentary in 2 hours, because it
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, I want to talk about this. Oh, I want to talk about that." He
yeah.
definitely would depress eat, because
Yeah.
anytime he got depressed, just
And that's something. And,
Yeah,
and
he,
shout out to
yeah.
And shout out to Dre Mack because he actually pointed that out in his review that I didn't think of until he said it. But this movie definitely touched on the topic of Black men and mental health and how they feel like they don't have anyone to go to talk to about their mental. That's why you could tell, like when he was talking to his therapist, he didn't tell her every single thing because it's like, granted, yeah, I'm only here because maybe I was appointed to you. It's not because you wanted to help me. It's probably because you're getting paid to help me. It's like, is it really genuine? Like, do I feel like pouring myself out to someone who I haven't completely opened up to or has not reciprocated that back to me? So I'm only telling you surface level stuff. I'm not giving you the core. So I like that topic and discussion of Black men with mental health because I mean, this man's life was just like on one big downward spiral. It's like, is there any light that's going to come at the end of his tunnel when it comes to this movie? Because like going into it, I'm thinking the worst is going to happen. I'm thinking he's not going to make it by the end of it. Because going into this movie, the one movie I did compare it to was Black Swan with Natalie Portman.
I've never seen that.
I didn't see
Oh,
that one.
Danny, that's a
It-
very good movie. Black Swan is a very good movie.
Yeah.
And it dealt with mental issues and the striving to be perfection, but only this time it was dealing with a woman who wanted to be a ballerina.
Okay, I knew
Yeah.
it had something to do with ballet. Okay.
Yeah, so
I wanted to
that was my pinpoint.
I wanted to
Well, the
piggyback on
original
that
ending.
about.
I'm glad they
Hold on
changed
just one moment.
it.
Hold on. I wanted to piggyback on that about men and mental health and being a therapist and him lying to the therapist and things like that. One of the things that I wanted to encourage is men and women, because I've dealt with this and working with children in foster care. If they do not connect, if you don't connect with that particular therapist, get
Mhm.
another one. And if you're in like a mental health situation, a mental health center or anything like that, I know in that particular, because I know that for here that's a free service. You're not hurting anybody's feelings if you can't connect, because it's so important when you go to therapy. It's not just to say, oh, I go to therapy, but if you cannot sit down and honestly, and like I said, it is a relationship building. I'm not telling you that the first day that you sit down in a therapist's office you're going to be able to spill your guts. Some people can, a lot of us can't. But if you get to the point where you're feeling like, I'm here, but I really can't express what I feel because I'm afraid that this person will judge or this person will this. And I'm going to say this because I think a lot of times, I know some people will be offended, but I'm just going to tell you this, and this has been my experience. If you're going to go for your therapy and your first therapy session, find someone whose tagline doesn't say Christian therapy, that says Christian therapy, religious therapy, or anything like that. I'm not telling you, don't mishear me. I'm not explaining to you or telling you that they're not good therapists. I've always seen that they are good therapists after you've dealt with whatever that trauma is. Because a lot of times when you go to those therapists, and it is not a knock on them. I'm being from my experience. I'm speaking from my experience. They want to talk about the religious side instead of talking about the actual things that's going on, and you'll get to feeling a little guilty because you feel like you're not measuring up to that religious point thing. That's probably a different level of therapy that you can graduate to. But when you've got trauma and you're speaking about trauma, and I know particularly if you're someone that is dealing with sexual abuse trauma, that's not the therapist to go to the first time. That you get that you get that person who's specializing in sexual abuse trauma or any of those things like that. So I just wanted to put that just from my experience, because a lot of times you'll get people will go into those therapy sessions and feel like they can't speak on anything, because if they can't speak as candid and frank and use the words that they need to be able to say as candid as frank. Because I know a lot of, I'll throw a curse word out, anything like that, and some people are like, oh, you can't cuss in my session. Okay, I can't do that. You see what I'm saying? Because I've experienced. But go ahead.
I think it depends because both mine and my husband's are both. I purposely sought out faith-based because that's all I talk about. And it's not because I'm on a high horse or that I'm a super saint, because I'm far from it. You know, I curse like a sailor and I curse during my sessions. But my point is, I think it has to do too with age. I would stay away from anybody that's like my mom's age and a faith-based therapist. Mine is only like 3 years older than me. Because the older ones, 60 and up, they're fire and brimstone. And like you said, you have to graduate to that.
You have to graduate to that.
And you have to graduate to that. But I purposely sought that one out mainly because no matter what I'm personally going through, that's my go-to. So I did not want a secular therapist that if I'm talking like that, they're looking at me like, what? Or on some, oh, well, that's not real. So I wouldn't, put too much stock in that because you need to be more logical about it. You know what I mean? So that's why I chose a faith-based therapist, because
and that's fine. But when you're talking, because I was dealing with teenagers, and
that's different.
And when we were talking to them, and then they weren't being able to get anything out of it. And I mean, I've had kids that had to literally go through 5 to 6 different things before they got to that one that was able to sit down with them and talk, and they can talk as freely as they could. So I just threw that out there. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell you who and not to go to, but I am saying for certain different things that there was something like, and all of that. Why I made mention of that is I'm wondering how long she had been his therapist, because at some point she should have, even when she was teary-eyed, she was upset, she knew she couldn't. Was she afraid that if he didn't come to her, he was never going to go to anybody? Is the reason why she didn't push him through?
Real or
I couldn't assess that, but I do want to talk about the elephant in the room on the side of the road and all this other stuff. Oh damn, Brad!
When I tell, okay, listen.
He creeps me out in real life. I'm sorry, Mike O'Hearn, but you creep me out in real life. But go ahead.
Okay, so this is why they say don't meet your heroes. Like when that happened, I literally thought of that saying, of that phrase of not meeting your heroes. And okay, like I told you, when I was in the theater watching this, it was only 5 of us in there. So I already thought it was kind of strange. Like, okay, it's nothing, bad. You reach out to who you feel like you're a fan of, and he invited him down to come to a photo shoot. I didn't, that was completely harmless. What started to kind of raise antennas for me was when he allowed him to touch his abs. When he said you can go ahead and touch him, and I was like, okay, but I did not expect that next scene. I was like, everybody in the theater, like when I tell you, everybody was like, like that's like that was literally the reaction that everybody had, because like I told you, it was like 5 of us in there, so I could hear everybody's reaction, like all like almost individual. We was like that's literally the reaction everybody had. And then he got on the phone and called his wife.
The wife called him.
Oh, the wife called him.
He was like, hold on a minute, with his big booty. Yeah, I'm just like
that was the one of the things that caught me. Now, for those who read the script, did y'all know that was going to happen?
Yeah, it was there. It just happened differently. So that's why I was about to segue into that. In the script, it was more developed. And I was telling Pam yesterday when we were trying not to spoil it, I felt like it just went too fast. And I think, did I say it on air or when we got off? I feel like it's the equivalent of us. Any one of us being our number one fan of somebody, and then we go from hi, how you doing, to limping out of the hotel room. It's like, wait a minute, like I'm not gonna get no dinner. We ain't gonna go to lunch. We not gonna, shoot the shit. You know what I mean? It just went to. I feel like
so it was a build up. So it was a build up to that.
Yeah.
Right. There should have been, and I talked to Danny about that. There should have been a build up to that, because the part about touching and all that other stuff. So see, here's the problem I had with Brad, because he had those letters and he knew he could feel the fact that this young man was very obsessive about him. I think he got it. Like I said, it didn't say it in there, but I think that's part of, and if you did not understand or know that, oh, you can touch it, you can touch it. That's part of how people groom other people. I wish, and I told Danny yesterday, that should have been, there were parts of the movies that I felt were fillers. And this part of the movie would happen so fast that I wish it had extended out a little bit further, or at least he could have called him earlier or something, and then they would have been on the phone talking and established something, because it was like you invite him there, he touches your abs, and then we see this.
Right.
And that's why the ending, when Tina said that she didn't like the ending, I didn't like it either, because I wanted the whole crash out. I thought that the scene before the ending, the whole crash out, that was the ending that I was wanting, because, you know, and again, my bias was that I didn't like Brad, but that was that part of the movie that I thought that they should have spent just maybe an extra scene or two, just so that we could see, you know, and then, you know, just a little bit, just a little extra scene. I wish the part that where he was in the when he went to the club and where he was dancing, that seems like if they would have expanded that out just a little bit and then switched that scene to after he met Brad, so there would be some kind of, I don't know, that scene seemed, in my opinion, odd where they placed it. I wish that they had placed it after the Brad and then the crash out. Go ahead.
And if I'm memory served, that club scene wasn't in there at all. At all. Oh my God, Chill, are you trolling? Because that's a pretty obvious answer to that question.
I wish they had put in something else, because I think some people may think it was consensual and it wasn't. And Killian's on the phone is, I didn't like those things that you did to me. And it's like, there's should have been one more scene that should have shown or conveyed that Killian, like, it could have been just his face falling. It's like, the movie The Favorite, that's what popped in my head at the very end. That's obviously Emma Stone didn't want to do this, but Olivia Colman's like, yeah, you're doing this, but it's not gratuitous in any way, and you didn't even know technically what she was doing, but you knew she didn't want to do this, and she was being punished or abused. Right. And that's because a lot of people, you see he's touching the abs and then he's sitting on the bed. It looks consensual, and it's like, oh man, what did I do? And it's like, no, he the bodybuilder knew Killian was off and he could do this, and he probably does this to a whole bunch of other guys. Young guys.
He seemed too comfortable with it. He seemed very comfortable with it. That's why I wish that scene had just maybe 2 or 3 more scenes in there, so that you could, two or three more things up there in there. I don't know why. I think that the club, if they would have gone to the club together, if they would have, it's something, there should have been a different scene in there.
Well, to add on to that, I think it's because the reason why it felt rushed to us is because we're supposed to be in Killian's mind.
Right.
Everything moves different for him, where us is more structured. His is more chaos.
Yeah,
so
that's why I liked it. I liked it.
So I get why they did it. We're supposed to be in his mind. In his mind, this is how everything is moving. And that's why to us, it's like, why is everything so rushed? But to him, this is normal behavior.
Yeah, so there's no gray. It's just black and white.
Yeah,
I met
exactly.
him. We had sex. That's it. I met him. We had lunch. He talked me, and then kind of worked his way into.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
it seems real to me. Go ahead, Tina.
Well, in the script, what happened was he got invited to a competition, and so they talked before the competition at his table. So they had a conversation and everything. Versus this, he just visited a photo shoot on a set. In the script, he went to a hotel room. So that's why, LaTanya, when you say consensual, there's gray areas with consent, right? Because we can all go to the hotel room, but once we get there, change our mind, and then it's not consensual anymore. But in the script, he made a conscious decision to go to the hotel room versus, I guess, maybe that's why they did it like that in the movie, where it was more his what do you call it? His dressing room trailer, because then it's easier to kind of finagle somebody into that or finesse somebody into going into your trailer than it is to drive all the way to a hotel. I guess it's more believable. Let's put it that way. Because you have time to think it over in that Uber on the way to the hotel versus if it's just the dressing room trailer right there, 100 feet away. Oh, yeah, I want to see it. It looks nice. And then before you know it, you bent over the sink somewhere. So maybe that's why, but I still think there should have been more conversation other than, so you're my number one fan? That's it? That's all it took? Shit.
Well, it's crazy. And
for someone like Killian, yeah.
As I was talking about connections, there was one connection. I talked about it yesterday that I wish they had also expounded on, and that was the connection with the prostitute. I don't know why I was looking for a connection, because, like I said, he had a connection with his pawpaw. He had a somewhat connection with his therapist. I don't know why I was looking that. I thought that was going to be some type of I don't know if I want to say relationship, but I was thinking that I was going to see her a little bit. I don't know why I thought I was just going to see her a little bit more.
I think she was used as a mirror to the assault. That's why. I think her scene was used to see how he deals with intimacy, right? He's scared. I don't know. Really, should I do it? And then you use that as a foil to the assault. Like, dang, you see how hesitant he was with a woman. What happened in this situation? So I kind of like that they didn't go into a lot of detail on either part. But as far as the killing, the Brad thing, man, I could talk about that subject for 12 hours straight. And that is why I am so passionate.
Well, go ahead, give us a 12-minute.
No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. I could talk forever about the R. Kelly and the Diddy of it all, and
I see what you mean,
and about how people think these men of masculine stature would never. No, they have a wife and they have a kid, and those be the ones who get off on. And I tell people sometimes it's not even really a gay thing. It's just a power thing. I just want to have the power to dominate you and feel like I've done something. And they know who to go after. They know to find those type of vulnerable people to prey on. And it's just, it's really so sad because we know that he was assaulted in real life, right? And so when you look at this mirror, the Diddy's, well, I don't want to say Diddy, allegedly, he hasn't been convicted, but the R. Kellys of the world who do these things to kids, and then they grow up and they become the Jonathan Majors of the world, the people that are kind of socially awkward. I don't really know how to deal with my feelings. Maybe I am a little angry, and it's just sad. But yeah, man, I like that they didn't show us a lot. They kind of gave you your imagination, do what you want with it, but just sad, man. It's just sad. It happens so much. It happens so frequently.
Yeah, and not I thought also too with
celebrity circles. It happens in real life. Pastors, teachers. The county I live in here in Florida. The county I live here in Florida. I'm in Pasco County. As of 5 years ago, 83% white. It's still rural-ish in a lot of spots. A realtor, a licensed real estate agent / rugby coach. What is that? Is it rugby, that game that got that little stick with the little net on it? What is that?
No, that's not rugby. That's lacrosse.
A lacrosse coach. He just got arrested last week because they always doing stings up here between the meth heads and the perverts. It's every month we got a whole principals, pastors, coaches, this particular guy, bestiality, having sex with dogs and with kids, with making kids do sexual things to the dogs. Okay? Guy, Pam left. He's about my age. He's probably in his 40s. Licensed realtor, because when they said realtor, because I'm a realtor too in 3 states. So of course I went to Googling. I was like, who? Because they didn't name his name, but I was able to find some clues. And lo and behold, he in his real estate picture, he got the little thing in his hand. So I was like, oh, that's him. Because he uses the lacrosse stick as part of his marketing. And I'm saying that to say it's not just celebrities, it's anybody that has influence over other people. In his case, the coaching, because there were kids involved in this too. And it's sick. There's some really sick people out here. I'll send the article to y'all later. But
look, I had a guy that I used to work with, an executive. I just found out he was doing the same thing. I was just like, and sometimes people do go missing off social media. So I was like, dang, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. And so I went to his Instagram, no activity. I'm like, dang, I wonder what's going on. So I reached out to another mutual friend. I'm like, hey, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. And they sent me the article. And it's like, you never know. And like me and this guy, we're in pictures together, we're smiling, and
now they're gonna be like, "Ooh, is she like that?" Nope.
Look, hey, that's why I was a little hesitant on everybody, like accusing everybody around Diddy, because I'm like, sometimes you really do be around people and you don't know what they're doing when they go home past 2 a.m. And he's in jail for the same thing, using his power dynamic to take advantage of people, men. He has 10 years, and I'm just like you said, it's not just celebrities, it's people with a little bit of, you have a little bit of power.
Yeah, any kind of power, teachers,
and
assistant
I would
principals.
And I would be so glad, and this is just a thing that I've seen a lot of times with men and all of this stuff that's happening. One of the things that freaks me out, because I just can't see where you find Fido. You were just all on Fido like that. But also one of the things that creeps me out is the fact that we have to get within, and I've said this before, particularly with men, it is not or the words escape me because I'm old now. But when these women and things that they're in power and they are abusing you like this, they're Mary Kay Letourneauing you. That's not a rite of passage. And a lot of times and society makes you think that, because see, I'm as old as I remember Porky's, and I can't think of what the other thing, and those movies made you think that those things were okay.
American
Pie.
Pie.
My teacher, she likes me and I like her, and we're just gonna go in the closet real quick, and I got the no, it's not okay, because that power dynamic is still there. That power dynamic is still there. But we'll get back to Magazine Dreams, because we could probably talk about that.
American Pie and Friday, staring at the neighbor's wife, and you like 17, 18, but the fantasy is to have sex with some grown older woman. You know what I mean? American Pie, MILF, Mom, I'd like to.
Hey, Juice. Right. I just learned that there was such an age gap between Omar Epps' character and the nurse.
Yeah, she was grown and he was like 17.
I didn't know it because
he was still in high school.
Moesha, Dorian was dating a 26-year-old woman when he was 16. And it's like, okay. And on the new 90210, Dixon was 16 with a 26-year-old. And even today, there was just 2 years ago, there was a show called The Teacher. And they were trying to say, oh, no, it's about this and that. It's like, no, it's the exact same thing. You continuously do this over and over and over again.
Yeah, but
you continuously make these movies.
Yeah, if it's a boy, it's okay.
And not understanding, again, like you say, we get the R. Kellys of the world, and we get those things because most of the time when we hear it, it's because there was a woman. Oh, well, it was my babysitter and I was 7. But it's okay because I'm a guy.
He was 8, the girl was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what he
Wow.
says that. So
I'm gonna have to go
he
back and
doesn't
watch.
see anything wrong with that.
I hadn't watched Juiced in 20, 30. I don't remember whenever it came out. That was the last. That
Just
was when
wait
I
for
saw
Black
it.
History Month. They play all the toxic Black movies all February.
And I didn't. I only watched it. Listen, I only watched Harlem Nights was a couple of years ago. I reviewed it because that was the first time I had ever seen it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's blasphemy. I was
Well, I'm
watching that
telling
at like
you.
8 years old.
Listen, I'm just telling you, see, I was super grown when all these movies came out, and I didn't, I was just,
Oh
I
yeah.
was out there. So movies, I wasn't doing the movies. I was,
She was
doing
making the
other things.
movies.
See, that's not your business. That right there ain't nobody's business.
She was
But
like, I wasn't
anyway,
doing the movies, I was making it. You gotta make sure ain't none of them
that ain't
VHS
nobody
out
business.
there.
And thank the Lord that they didn't put VHS on into DVD form.
But they
I'm
can
kidding.
now. So you better
I'm
hope nobody's
kidding. I'm
splicing
kidding.
tapes again.
I'm
But
kidding. So let's
yeah.
talk about we've talked about that. The jumping scene, we saw that, but let's talk about the ending
Mm-hmm.
and going right towards the ending. And I do just like to know from each of you all, what did you like and what didn't you like about that ending, and what would you have liked to have seen to have been the ending? We'll start with Lily. What do you think?
Oh, hello. Well, I also read the script, and I am happy because the script was verse. So, seeing, um, when Killian gets the gun, but it's like, oh, you're going after, your abuser. It's like, okay, whatever. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's actually in my mind, and I throw away the guns, and because we need some new editors. We could have packed that in a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, he throws away. So yeah, they should have ended right when he's posing in the gold speedo. I don't know why that one scene where he's just like standing in a garage. I'm like, what? Why didn't you just stop right there? But the original ending of him being looking at the Columbine people and want to be one of them, no. So, and this was always the problem way back in Sundance. The people hated that second half, and it isn't any better. Jonathan is this movie. His performance is what makes this movie. And if they had given Taylor Page, the prostitute in the movie, more time, that'd be nice. But yeah, it is what it is. It's because we don't know. It looks like Killian is turning his life around. I guess maybe, who knows? But it's better than shooting up the 4th of July parade. So it is what it is. It's it's an independent film. So, the open endings are the bread and butter of independent films. So, but it's better than, being trying to be famous forever by, because Killian never messed with innocent people. Yeah, he scared that guy's kids, but, he told the kids, your dad, beat me up, called me an ape. So it's like, oh, really, Dad? Okay, well,
Right.
So
Still was scared.
Killian never messed with anyone that was innocent.
Mhm.
And that messed up the whole thing of nobody at that 4th of July parade messed with him. So in the movie, now he's going after his abuser.
Mhm.
So yeah, but again, it's like, it's what it is. He looks good. It's like, just put on headphones and just look at him and give him the money. It's like, because movies are too long these days. Like 124, it could have been 105, or you could have put in more. But he doesn't really write women well. In the script, it's like, the prostitute's completely nude. It's like, no, she doesn't need to be. Underwear is this. But yeah, I'm going on a tangent now, so it's like, yeah. What did you think of the ending? The ending was fine.
It was just fine.
So yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Tina?
Because there's no resolution, but it's better than shooting at the 4th of July parade. So I'll take it.
After I got home and like really processed it and started working on my own video for it, I kind of sat with the ending a little bit, and I reframed my thinking of it. Y'all remember like the Goosebumps books you used to read, and it was like, if you pick this decision, you go to this page. If you pick this decision, you go to that page.
Mhm.
So I just kind of looked at it like that. Like, it kind of gave the audience the ability to really formulate your own ending. Did he jump off the bridge? Did he shoot everybody up? Did he throw the guns away and reform his life? That's kind of how I sat with it, because I wish we could have heard more from Elijah. He did not do a lot of interviews. I almost had an interview set up with him last week, but I was out of town. But I wish we could have heard more from him so he can kind of tell us what that was, because it's like, why did we go to all these different places to land here? So that's the only thing I didn't like initially. But then when I got home, I'm like, maybe it's a choose your own ending. Let it be how you want it to end.
They could
I
at
want
least make
Crash
a
out.
multiple choice. I mean, damn.
Because in reality, when you're dealing with someone like him, I think we all either know someone like him, someone in our family is kind of like him, who's kind of socially awkward, obsessive about things. That does not end well without a lot of help, support, and community. So even though he's throwing all the stuff away, he's tearing the posters down, we know that's not a real happy ending. That takes so much change that he just doesn't have the support to do it himself. So it feels like eventually you're going to get back into the same habits. You're going to eventually want that powder a little bit, or you're used to that steroid. You're going to go back to it. So that's why I didn't like it. We didn't get a concrete ending, but I kind of sat with it and just accepted. It's a choose your own ending.
Right.
What about you, Torian?
Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually didn't think about this when I did my review, but when I was hearing y'all talk, I don't know why I didn't like formulate this, because everything that we saw that was going on with his character was happening for him in real time. But the one time that he has a moment where he thinks about doing something, he doesn't do it. And that's when, of course, when he plans to, blow up, do what he was doing, like when Brad was on the stage. That was the one time where we see something inside of his mind not go the way that he thought it was going to go. But he actually, in my opinion, gained control of his urge to not go crazy like he did when he drove to the store and kicked it in, or when he went to the restaurant and was basically messing with those people and bashing his head. And like that actually happened. But him actually going to do what could have been one of the most detrimental things of his life that really could have really messed him up, where he could not come back from, he had a moment of clarity to really stop and think like, okay, I can't do this. And then he left. So I like that they did it, because it's like, it gives the audience to show you that he went to all of these therapists and no one was able to help him. At the end of the day, the only one that could help him was himself. Like no one can help me, only I can do it. And in my opinion, him doing that was him at the beginning stages of regaining control of his life. He's like, before I go down this road and down this trajectory, let me really think about it. Because if I do what I plan on doing, I cannot come back from that. Like, there's no just arrest me, sending me to therapy, put me on probation, probably put me in a facility. No, I'm going to jail. I'm going to prison. Like, and there's nothing that can help me when I get behind those walls. So I'm glad that happened. And, him putting the gun inside of the bag, taking it apart, and then tossing it, and then, going home and everything like that, and realizing like, I'm the only one that can help me. Like, at the end of the day, I feel like him doing the bodybuilding, that's the only thing he had to hold on to. And it was a bunch of other outside forces that was getting in the way. And I'm glad that he just went right back to default settings and was like, look, let me just go ahead and get it together. And even at the end, when he's posing on the stage, going back to what I was saying at the beginning, when Pam started the live, when he was posing, it was very extra. But when he's posing at the end, it's almost like he took his time. He didn't think about it too much. It was more fluid. It was more natural. Even when he set up the camera to do his speech when he was in his underwear was more calm. He could actually just kind of just like sit there and kind of, I guess, in his way, be normal. Like he didn't have to do all the extracurricular stuff. So that's how I really saw the ending, is that now he feels like he has to basically do the things himself in the way that he knows how to do them, and not try to piggyback off or lean on what anybody else has done, because it's not working for him. And you saw it just made him spiral out of control.
Mm-hmm.
What do
But
you
that's
think,
pretty
Danny?
much that's how I interpret it.
I didn't like it. I mean, I'm glad to have heard theirs before I got to mine, because obviously their perspectives definitely changed. I don't want to have to pick my own ending. I want it to end the way it's supposed to end. I cannot remember what happened in the script. I have to probably go back, but I feel like it was just as cliffhangery, and that's probably why I don't remember, because I would have had an answer. Torian mentions the moments of clarity. I think he had 3 pivotal moments of clarity in that in the time of the movie. The dinner. Okay, so his whole thing, he's impulsive. He's obsessive compulsive. He's got a lot of anger issues, right? But he always seems to get himself off the ledge. There's always a moment where it's like, aha, you know what I mean? For example, with the restaurant thing, he was wilding out. He was just boom, boom, give me this, give me that, give me that, da 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 da. And then when he realized that the lady left, he was like, oh yeah, she did tell me she had a family emergency. You know what I mean? So instead of spazzing out and being like, oh no, she didn't, he kind of was able to bring himself back down. Okay, yeah, pack this up, stopped ordering, stopped, bugging out. The second moment of clarity for me was the prostitute, Pink Coat. He was ready to go. And then she smacked him. And then he was like, man, I don't want to do this no more. So I'm like, damn, man, you was about to get some ass and change your life forever. Because, that probably would have took the edge off of everything. You know what I mean? If he would have got that nut off, excuse my French. But I'm like, damn. So now we got more pent up aggression because he ain't even get to, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And she slapped him. It was almost like he snapped out of whatever prompted him to want that in the first place. And then, the third, moment of clarity was, what you guys discussed in terms of the ending where, I guess after fantasizing about, lighting up Brad, he kind of realized, oh yeah, this is probably not the thing to do. And he left. So I think that he was fully capable of reeling himself back in. I think it just something always had to precipitate that though. Something had to always kind of like jolt him out of it. So I guess that visual of Brad laying on the stage, bloody and, it probably was like, oh yeah, this is probably not a good idea. I did not like the throwing away of the guns part because then my mind started like calculating all that money he just threw away after he said that he didn't have to take care of his grandpa. I'm like, dude, you could have pawned those. You lost your job. Like, I'm just getting practical now because I'm like, I would never throw away $1,500 worth of guns ever. But that part annoyed me, I think, more than the ending did. But I don't know. Was that another fantasy? Like, yeah, I think
I want to say that him tossing away the guns actually really did happen. I really want to say that. I really want to, in my mind, I'm playing it out in my mind that he did that. That was real. That he actually really did get rid of the guns. The only thing that I believe truly we saw was fantasy was him imagining that he, shot up Brad on the stage, because we know that was a fantasy because he snapped back to reality. But I think everything after that was definitely real.
Okay. Yeah, so then he came home, cried, hugged his, and he almost looked like he was hesitant to hug his granddad. So that was sad for me because it seemed like that was the first time ever that he got that from his grandfather. Because he stood there for a minute crying, like, should I do it? The grandpa standing, I'm like, dude, where's your oxygen? Like that, My brain going again. I'm like, weren't you just on oxygen? Like, could you hurry up and make a move for you pass out? And then I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? Is he going to die in front of him? Like, I'm just waiting for the worst to happen. You know, I'm like, is he going to drop dead because he don't got his oxygen? Are they going to talk? You know what I mean? So it was like, I think that right there might have been the, definitely, William. Because when he was tearing up the kitchen with the food, you heard the grandpa yelling, "What the hell are you doing in there? Stop it!" You know what I mean? Instead of coming out to see what was going on.
And notice he almost had a childlike mind too, because remember when he was sitting there watching the bodybuilding tapes, look at how he was sitting in front of the TV, almost like how a child was sitting like square in front of the TV when your parents would tell you don't sit too close to the TV because it'll mess up your eyes. Yeah, and now he had the volume turned all the way up, and his grandfather was telling him to turn it down. He was like, "Sorry, Papa," like almost like a child would. So it's like he's a grown man, but mentally he's still a child. Like he hasn't his mental state hasn't caught up to his physical.
Right. He's
yeah,
like
and that hasn't happened because of the fact of the trauma when it happened. I think he was 10 when his parents died. And when we were talking about the scene with the grandfather, the thing that I noticed, it seemed like because William hit it, it also seems like that was the first time the grandfather realized that this man is having some issues. And you know, because you remember I remember looking at his face, and he was like, and then when like you said, he was crying, and he appeared to be like this child. It looked like that was the first time the grandfather had some kind of clarity that something ain't right. Something's not right, because it's like when he's with his grandfather, like you said, it's almost like a child thing. He's taking care of him. Hey, Papa, this, Papa, that. You need this, Papa. His grandfather, you know, in his grandfather's head, okay, he's taking care of me. He's doing all of these little different things. But it was like that was the first time he realized, hey, he's going through some stuff, and I need to figure out what it is, because Jonathan Majors played that part with his grandfather, like, you know, I'm kind of in control because, you know, I'm taking care of you. I'm going to the grocery store and get your stuff and all these little different things. But he realized at that moment, there's something not right with my grandson. I mean, or he's going through something that I have not registered that there was a big problem. The ending for me, and again, like I said, I may be probably the oldest, but probably the most immature person on here. I wanted the crash out. I wanted the ending with Brad. I wanted that to be the ending, and everything fade to black. That's what I wanted.
Yeah. I wanted to crash out because I like crashing out. But I'm like, if he didn't smack that dude in the diner, I was like, ain't no way he gonna shoot Brad.
Right. You know, I had to go back and live with that in my head.
It's funny too, because like all the crash, because the thing is he had multiple crash outs throughout the movie, but the biggest one, that's the one where he held back.
Yeah,
like, from actually doing
one with that, and then
Like, I forgot we didn't talk about this. The conversation that he had with the guy on the phone before he went to the shop, when he was talking about my granddad was a World War II veteran, and you need to treat him with some respect. And I like that he did that, because he stuck up for his granddad, because he felt like his grandfather was being taken advantage of. I mean, like, you know, him already being a black man, that was already one strike against him anyway. But but when he followed up with that line, that very venomous line of what he said he was going to do to him, like cut him open or drink some, whatever it was. I was like, I forgot exactly what he said.
His head open,
put his head open and drink his brain. Is that what he said?
Like that.
Look, that's his go-to thing, because that was the first thing the therapist asked him as the movie introduced, was like, "Did you tell somebody you was gonna do this?" And he was like, "No."
And then it came back, and then it came back when he said that, and then that's when he decided, I'm going to just go. And this is why I said Jonathan Majors is such a phenomenal actor, because the way when he had that conversation on the phone, how he was able to go from a very calm voice, even though the person on the phone didn't take him seriously, to going into a very dark villain, like, you know, with saying that, like the transition was so smooth. Like how he was able to do it. He just didn't jump and then jump. It's like it was a build up to him talking like that and saying what he said. And even the tone in which he used when he said that, because that's a very, like, you hear someone tell you that, you're like, what's wrong with this person? What's going on to even think to say something like that? And then he hops in that car and he goes and he tries to break open the door, and then he kicks the window in, and the part that got me, I had to laugh a little bit. is I don't know where he got this strength from, but the fact that he just launched himself halfway through the window of the store, like he just threw his whole top half of his body into.
He never got cut.
Yeah.
And never got cut. That's
I'm
the
like,
that's
damn,
the
this can leather, brother.
That's those steroids. And while I'm talking about steroids, because there was a scene where they were talking about because of his usage, his steroid usage, it was messing with his liver. They found some nodules or something like that. Tell me, do you think that had a lot to do with what was going on with him because he was taking those steroids and stuff like that?
I think it was a combination. I think he has mental health issues. He's on steroids and he does cocaine. He had a lot going on.
Oh yeah, he had a
lot.
lot.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah, he definitely was on that booger sugar.
Oh,
That scene in the bathroom at the club though was wild with that guy who was on that stuff and he was talking to him and everything like that. And the thing is, he told him what he was going to do, but the guy was so high out of his mind, he didn't believe a word of what he was saying. All he was worried about was having that hit. He was in that moment. He was in that mode. He was feeling it. And it's like, you have no idea. He's really actually wants to do that. But Tina, you had came in kind of late when I had mentioned this. What did you think about the part with the judge when he had him strip and pose in the hotel in the room?
House, yeah.
Power. He wanted to feel some power. Everybody always seems to have power and control over him. That was crazy. I thought the judge was done, but kind of like y'all was saying, he couldn't pull the trigger, even though he probably wanted to. He just wanted to have some power. I'm on the mountaintop now. You do what I say. Look at your body. So
right. And if that scene with when he called the paint shop, do you remember him talking himself down? He was kind of like, all right, I can't remember what he said, but something along the lines of stay calm, don't raise your voice, Like he was, and I think the guy heard him and he was like, what? And then he said whatever he had to say.
Oh, the part in the store when he was working and he gave the tongue action to that old
That was nasty. And my daughter was like, why is his mouth still bleeding? I said, I have no idea, because that was a few days ago. And then my husband goes, he had gingivitis. I'm like, that was wicked gingivitis. Because that was still bleeding.
Yeah, I did not expect him to do that. And then when he got called into the office by the boss and he was basically telling him, like, look, you're scaring the customers, you're doing this, you're doing that. We gotta have to let you go. He was like, but I have to make money because I have to take care of my grandfather. And he was like, I can help you. But then again, going back to Jonathan Majors being such a great actor that he is, how he was able to go from this position of feeling like he was begging to keep the job to the point of his whole face changed. And when he got up, I'm not even gonna lie, when his face changed and he stood up slowly, I kind of leaned back in my chair because I thought he was about to get in my face. Like, imagine someone with a bloody, like their face looking like that and they're in your face like that, and their whole tone just changed. His words got more slower when he was talking. He wasn't talking as fast. He wanted you to hear every word he was telling his boss before he walked out of that.
That's Jonathan Majors. Every single film besides probably Last Black Man in San Francisco, he has that button that he clicks. He did it with Tick. He did it in Creed. He did it with Kang. He just has that click on him where he's just like, it's about to get real serious. He just has that in him.
Yeah, right. that was just again going back to just great acting, like really great acting.
Yeah, it was really good. I just didn't understand why his mouth was still bleeding, but I just let it go. I was like, okay. I'm like, dude, how did all that activation start again? Like, did you get punched in the mouth again?
Yeah, maybe he had got into another fight, kind of like Torian said.
Like, that's much activation right there.
We're living life like through his version, and he could have blacked out and got into another fight, came into work.
Yeah, because remember
before he got to work.
Because remember when he came into work and his face looked kind of like mangled a little bit, like he probably just got out of a fight. You know, he didn't clean himself up. Yeah, but also the part in the hospital when
what's his name? I think You got that. You still have like a sore, and you just keep poking at it with your tongue,
At it.
and then it
Yeah.
just. I feel like that's him.
Yeah, I can believe
That
that.
he can't leave anything alone.
Yeah, and also too, when he was in
then
the
he sees
hospital,
the lady staring.
and
It's like a nervous picking. That's another compulsion.
And yeah,
Right.
when he was in the hospital and the judge not the judge, the doctor had told him, like, look, you have to get this surgery. He says, I can't get the surgery. He said, I'm a bodybuilder, and bodybuilders can't have
Can't
scars.
have scars,
Can't
yeah.
have scars. Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
sad because it's like, yeah, the movie was just so sad to me because
It is a sad movie.
It is a real movie about these people that can operate. I can get up, I can go to work, I can do my job, but it's something a
Functional.
little off. And how we as society be like, oh, he's okay, or he's just a little off, but these people really need help, and how we don't know how to help somebody like that. It's very sad, man. It was a sad movie.
Yeah, it is very sad.
Because sometimes people don't think there's nothing wrong with you if you can get up, go to work, and operate. They kind of just be like, well, why can't you just get it together, or why can't you just speak right? And it just shows that we have people, and we just kind of look the other way, and we don't know what to do. Like, how do you help somebody like that? Because it's not just therapy. People like him need therapy, and they also need community.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of took from that.
I got a question.
I was telling Pam yesterday that they just want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question.
Again, in our respective professions, you can spot it right away, you know, and you kind of say, oh, and then you kind of make an interaction just so that they know that they're being seen and considered. Go ahead, Torin. I'm sorry.
I got a question. Like, let's hypothetically, say we're all the way, this is March now, and we're all the way in, say, December, when they start doing, or maybe not even December, but maybe like around, it's in the fall. Let's put it that way. And let's hypothetically say that they're getting ready to do awards nominations, and this movie does get nominated for awards. What scene do you think they're submitting for Jonathan Majors for Best Lead Actor? Because they always submit a scene that they feel is the strongest performance for them to campaign with. I got about 3 of them that they could use.
Damn, that's a good
After
question.
he gets to the fight and he's on that stage, that's the win. If everything had gone well, that was the win.
Which one was it?
That's not enough. If everything hadn't happened,
For
him
me,
barking at people
repeat that
trying to touch him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for me, you mean after he got beat up in front of his car?
Yeah, and he went to the competition.
And he went to competition. That's one of them. That is one of them. That whole scene was so good. It was dark.
Yeah, that was the win if everything had happened.
Yeah, but I said, yeah, that's a strong contender right there.
Yeah.
Even the one in the restaurant, could be a good. The diner one is another one too.
The diner.
What's interesting is the diner scene in Sundance that didn't exist. Half of it didn't exist. They had to reshoot.
Yeah, it's not in the script at all.
Now, we're talking about the when he meets up the people that beat him up, right? Meets one of the people. The diner. That's the diner we're talking about. Okay, okay. Because I heard diner and then started thinking about the date scene.
Yeah, I think either like you said, Tanya, the after he gets beat up and he just pushes himself through and he hits the stage, or honestly, the first crash out when he just takes his head through the fucking glass. I'm like, this nigga is crazy. Yeah, this is what we're getting today. Let me sit down. This is what we getting. Yep, this is where we go.
Honestly, that's not autistic. That's not autistic for men. That's an autistic meltdown. And that's one of the reasons people, they see that as, oh, we need to put you in jail. When it's, oh, you're actually, because when he was on the Sherry Shepherd show, Sherry's son, Jeffrey, is autistic. My brother is also autistic. And I, my whole life, born 1980, hello. So the 80s was interesting, but luckily he was able to, my brother was able to get some things, but I saw kids, they had to wear the helmets because they were banging their heads And so
Or they
so
they hit themselves.
Yeah, and even me, it's like, but because it's either A or Z, and we don't realize everything in between. So me, I've been in the system out uh what is it called? Well, it's like therapy, but outside. I never had to go inside a place, but I would tell them when I got scared, I would run into a wall. And it's like, okay. And I always said, oh, I have panic disorder. No, that's an autistic meltdown. And that's why you're seeing stuff on TikTok is that 20 years, and I'm seeing women 60, 70 years old finding out on TikTok that they have ADHD, autism, that we've been telling what happened to us for decades, and no one knows what it is because women are different. Women are different than men, and it's so it's interesting. And now I've forgotten how I started this.
That's
we were talking about him. We were talking about him running his head into the windshield. I mean, not the windshield, but the window.
Okay, yeah, the shit. That's him being overstimulated and and that's what kids do, especially boys, and again at TikTok, you think you have a roughneck, what? He's just autistic. It's like
there's a joke. Latanya, isn't there a meme about that where you think I laughed so hard. Probably harder than I needed.
You think you have roughneck, what? He's just autistic. He's just overstimulated.
You think you have a thug, and all the whole time he was autistic.
He's autistic.
Yeah.
All he needs is all he needs because the overhead light. Yeah.
And then one thing I did like. And one thing I did like was that scene where he's going onto the stage, and this goes back to the cinematography, is how all of that was one track shot. It wasn't no break. So it's like you're literally following him from his car, get out of the car, and I like that he's walking through and you shout out to the background extras because their facial expressions really told the story. Because remember,
let me tell you, these extra people, sorry to interrupt, if you really pay attention to everybody around him, killed.
Yeah, and because the thing is, their expressions had to tell us the story of what his face looked like because we hadn't seen his face until he got onto the stage. We didn't see what he looked like. Even when he got up to get in the car, we still didn't see what he looked like. So we didn't see his face from the aftermath of him getting jumped until he got on that stage and the camera panned around to the front. And even then, they had the camera pan onto the judges first in the audience and then pan to him to see what they saw. So I like that it was one track shot and how we're literally going on a mini journey of him going from the car into the building. People looking at him kind of crazy, like what's going on? What's wrong with him? He's going to the table. And also too, as he's walking in, he's stripping his clothes off. He's walking and taking his clothes off. You know what? That's the scene right there. Tanya, you might be on. That's the scene right there. Yeah. If they submitted for awards, that's the one.
I think that's the one.
Because everything about the thing is about it is it was minimal dialogue. It was all expression. That's it told a story without having to say any words.
Because that lady who was doing the makeup, the lady that was doing the makeup for the bodybuilder, and her expression on her face, that sealed it for me because I was like, what is she?
But you want to know what's interesting though? And what you want to know might be interesting though? That could be their genuine response, because what if they had not seen how he looked prior to them filming that? So to make it more real, they said, we're not going to show what he looks like. This will be your first time. So that was probably a genuine response. And that's why they all looked, it didn't look scripted. It looked real, which if that is the case, kudos to the director for doing that.
Look, let me tell you, if Marvel does not get Elijah Bynum on the phone to do Blade or Midnight Suns or some type of horror film. They will have to tighten up some of his dead spots, but the way he's able to build tension, I've seen some people say this felt like a horror movie. They need to get that young brother on the phone.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
He has
People said that Jonathan legit scared the hell out of them in this role.
He did.
Not even
I
just
mean,
him, the music, like even the way they shoot
of it.
stuff.
Orchestra
It's
music,
just that man, that young boy, not young boy, but that young man, because Elijah's young. What he did with this film, with the music, the cinematography, and of course Jonathan, but we give Jonathan a lot of praise, but without the stuff working around Jonathan, it just levels everything up.
Oh, definitely. Like everything, like the production behind this movie was really, really, really well done. Like you said, the cinematography was good. The script was, good. Jonathan was good. Even like everything moved the way that it was, in my opinion, supposed to move with a movie that's themed like this. And I liked it too, because you don't really get movies that focus on the bodybuilding community. That's why I was hoping that a lot of people who are into bodybuilding actually support and watch this movie. And I'm glad that they even got real bodybuilders to be a part of this movie, because they said Jonathan was working out with actual like bodybuilders who have actually like gotten what they call their pro card, which is like one of the most prestigious things you can get as a bodybuilder in the bodybuilding community. So they really did put in the work behind this film. I would watch this movie a few more times.
Yeah, because I think the judge
on my TikTok, it was all bodybuilders that was liking the that was liking the because I made a little thing and channel for him, and when I put up the trailer, it was all bodybuilders, and one bodybuilder was like, "This is like our new, what was that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Pumping Iron?"
Yeah,
like this is our generation Pumping Iron. It's like they were so excited. It was so many bodybuilders in my in the comments. And who liked it.
That's him. That's the director, Elijah Bynum.
Yeah, that's him.
Yep. And I think he only has 2 films under his belt. I think he's about to work on his third. He had one with Timothy Chalamet. He did one with Timothy Chalamet, whatever his name is, and I think this is his second. And he just signed on for a third. Talent, raw talent.
Yeah.
Oh, Pam,
can
you share my screen right quick?
Sure. Hold on. Let me see where it's at, Torian. There you go.
So this is, even though I know a lot of us don't go based off of Rotten Tomatoes or anything like that, but that's the current standings right there. As you can see, with the critics, it has an 81%, and with the audience, it has a 92%.
Nice.
Great.
Yep. So the people have spoken. This movie is based by their metric, it is a hit. But I really honestly think I going into this, I already knew that this movie, I just had the strongest feelings that when I first heard about this movie, when it went to Sundance and I read the synopsis of it, I said, "Oh, this is a hit." I just looked at it, I just read the synopsis and just knew right off the bat that this movie was going to be amazing. Of course, I didn't know what to expect going into watching it, because I was not prepared for any of what I saw yesterday. Not yesterday, 2 days ago. But I'm glad that I went and saw it. I highly suggest as many people as possible to go watch this movie. And even if you can't see the movie while it's in theaters, when it comes on digital or streaming or whatever, watch it, because this movie is definitely going to be talked about for years to come, in my honest opinion.
It's good. It's good. It has it. Once you read the script, you'll see why I was a little frustrated. And Lily, you read the script, so to make you feel a little better, the first 20 minutes was exactly like the script, so you didn't miss anything. Well, the first 30 minutes was exactly word for word like the script, save for a couple of details.
Okay.
But
because it's interesting, because I keep going back to the diner, and it's like I actually have the script in front of me, because I'm like, yes, it's there, because I read it because going back to Jonathan's real life in the movie, he said, when they're like, call the police, he's like, call the police. 6'1", 245 pounds, black male. And it's like, that was interesting. It wasn't until later that, because because that wasn't in the script, they would have to, do that. That's the exact 6'1", 245 pounds. That was in the court transcript. Page 70 of the court transcript. It's just interesting. I'm like, did you do that on purpose?
That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah, because she said it was double. That's when Priya said,
she said he was 220.
Yeah. So it's like, are you doing that are you doing that on purpose? I don't know.
Razzle dazzle, you know.
And in the script, he gets tased. Oh, that's what annoyed me. Is that the police were macing him, and I'm like, or not mace. What is the other one?
Pepper spray.
But the other one,
mace, pepper spray, right?
But that's terrible.
Yeah, he was.
I did it to
Pepper
myself
spray,
by
thank you.
accident, and it was tragic.
Yeah, and also remember in the dialogue when they was talking to him and they was like beating like outside, he was like, "Don't you die on me! Don't you die on me!" Like I kept hearing him say that.
Because they said he was having a heart attack. Because he was still on those. He was still on those steroids, and
yeah, they cut that out because he went back to the doctor, and they were like, because he had a heart attack. It's like, wait a minute, is this man having a heart attack? But the thing is, the cop is behind him as he's getting sprayed. As someone 2 times, 1997, I went to a school. We had no walls. It was an open school. So someone on the upper floor. Huh?
In DC, it's cold.
I don't know. I haven't put my arm out yet. Because indeed, literally, when I went to the movie, it was spring when I went to the movie. It was winter when I went out the movie. So that's how DC changes so much. It's annoying. The sun is out. It looks beautiful. So, and our new people are always wearing shorts no matter what. So I don't know what's going on. And so
right.
So I don't know it's like, wait a minute, it's 34 degrees. Why are you wearing shorts? I saw the sun out.
They're probably on a booger sugar.
And they do. And I didn't know how prevalent it was. And how did Killian afford that much? It's like, is it that expensive?
I was getting confused. I was pocket watching real bad. That's why I got mad about the
the VA checks, people. I keep trying.
Yeah,
to
that's what I was about to
the
say.
VA.
The
granddad is.
Pop probably had a nice fat VA check coming in, but then why was he complaining about losing his job then? So I was confused.
He probably got a VA check. Jonathan Majors may be getting a check, but even if you getting, checks, you still want your own little extra income. But I gotta go, y'all. I got somewhere to be at 6.
That's
I'm glad I was able to get on.
I need a nap more. The Lord needs me to exercise wisdom and take a nap.
We'll do this.
Thanks for inviting me on, Pam.
So
for sure. I'm sorry I was late. Our internet was down in the neighborhood. Xfinity.
So is there anything else anybody wants to add in regards to this? Because I think
I would just say
we've done a good. Go ahead.
I would just say go support the movie. It's out. Of course, the word of mouth push is definitely going to have to be there because again, it's an independent film. It's not backed by a big giant studio where they can have all the promo done. It's in their budget. So, definitely support. And I was looking at, what you just put in there, Tina, about the box office. You said it's tracking with 900K to $1 million.
Yeah, that was the last tracking I seen.
Would you say that's on par for an indie film?
Well, yeah, it only cost $8 million, and I still haven't seen one commercial.
I mean, still with it only costing $8 million, every movie you want to at least try to make your production budget back.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Because the problem we're in.
They added theaters.
And there's nothing to unfortunately recoup on the
Yeah.
back end. Back in the day when they was putting out all those black movies and the box office may only be $5 million, they're gonna make that back on DVDs or rentals or physical media. You don't have that extra auxiliary
Everybody
like
streaming now.
on the back. So yeah. Dang, it was something I wanted to say. I forgot. I lost it.
And
It'll
we
come back.
still haven't gotten
Oscars.
overseas.
Oscars. Me and I think it was either me and Chill or me and Dre. Maybe it was all of us talking when I was like, this is how you know that Hollywood is politics. If 2 years ago he was supposed to get an Oscar nomination, it's going to be so amazing if he does not at least get a nomination this year. And that's how you know it's the game of politics, because that performance, like no matter how you feel, no matter if people think he's guilty or innocent or mean, an asshole, weird, his performance deserves at least a nomination, if not probably a freaking win. Like you cannot take that away. So it'll just be interesting to see what happens during
I said the
season.
same thing when I did my review for the movie. It was something that Monique has said when she won her Oscar for Precious. It was actually the first thing she said. She said, first, I would like to thank the Academy for making it about the performance and not the politics. I remember that was the very first thing that she said. Now, at the time, I didn't understand what she was saying.
Right.
We didn't know what was about to come. We didn't know what was about to come down the line. But then years later, it's like, okay.
Well, no, it's because she refused to do campaigning. That's why. They wouldn't pay for her accommodations, so she did zero campaigning, and like that's one of the few. I can't even think of anyone else who did zero campaigning. She refused to do any campaigning, so that's why. Because I remember, I'm born 1980, so I remember that every second of it. So yeah, she refused. The company wanted her to pay her airfare, her hotel, and she's like, no. So she sat the whole thing out. I've never seen anyone sit out the awards, season. So she's like one of the few, if not only, person who's won an Oscar who has done zero campaigning. So that's interesting. That was, and we knew she was going to win anyway because everyone just hated, like, I remember when a person, the character, it's like if I saw her on the street, it's like that's how huge that whole
fans, yeah, right.
So she had to do zero campaigning. Well, she did zero. So yeah, so that's one of the few.
Unfortunately for Black people.
So yeah, I didn't remember.
I missed it. Go ahead, Tina.
Oh,
it's interesting.
I think hers cut off. I didn't want to cut. Yeah. I was gonna say, unfortunately for Black people, sometimes when we win Oscars, it doesn't necessarily lead to immediate success or any success at all. Look at I was just thinking about this. I'm like,
Mahershala Ali.
That's what I was just about to say. We have not seen Mahershala Ali on the screen in 6 or 7 years, like a movie screen.
What happened?
Honestly, he was working more.
Halle Berry.
He didn't do it. Well, the thing is,
they talked about Halle Berry. It was like she won her Oscar and couldn't get her money until she did Catwoman. Like she had to do Catwoman to get paid. It's crazy.
Well,
yeah, and even Cuba Gooding Jr. They used to make fun of Cuba Gooding Jr. for the movies he did, but he was, and that's why Lupita. They're like, why aren't we seeing her on the screen? Because she's not getting paid the money that her white counterpart is. And she's like, I'm not working if I'm her. Barry, they're getting the money from the makeup commercials they're doing. That's where they're getting the real money. And Denzel, and I was surprised, I just saw this recently, that Denzel did not get that big check until after Training Day. That he got a huge bump. I'm like, I'm sorry? Not after you already had an Oscar for Glory. So, and while Amy Adams adore her, but her Oscar nomination gave her a bigger career and a bigger paycheck than really all of the Black winners combined. Because you see Jennifer
Viola Davis
Hudson.
said the same thing. She said the same thing. You know,
Mhm.
she still has.
Yeah.
She's got the training. She's got the Oscars and Emmys like the Meryl Streeps, but she doesn't have that Meryl Streep money. But
Yeah, she's an
is there
EGOT
any?
now.
Because what I'm gonna do
And
is
so,
give my final thoughts on it. Y'all go see the movie. It is a great movie. I really want y'all to go support it. I really want to see it. I really want you all to support it. If there's not anything else, y'all, we're gonna end it because I
it's
know
supposed to be
that.
on Amazon in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay,
Is it?
Amazon.
Oh, good.
Yeah, digital on April 8th. Well, we don't want to
April
promote digital, but
Right.
it will
Y'all
be
know
there.
y'all
Oh,
have
yeah.
a movie.
I want to get these box office numbers up. So y'all know my tagline at the end, my outro. So I want to thank Torian. I want to thank Danny. I want to thank Tina. I want to thank Lily. I want to thank you all for joining me, going over the movie, our spoiler review of Magazine Dreams. Y'all get out here and y'all promote it on your those of you all that are in the chat, please promote it on your social medias. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker. Please tell the heifer that you can't stand that Magazine Dreams is in the theaters right now. And with all that, people, bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.